And alright, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Lucas from Mars, and today we're just gonna take a look here at the American League. So we got one more league here to finish off franchise previewing here for this new MLB Custom 22 franchise. So let's just jump right into these rosters here, and starting off today with the Montreal Expos. As pitching, they're gonna be their ace here is going to be Zach Wheeler. Very, very good pitcher. Pitched the most innings in the entire league last year, 213 innings pitched, and was excellent. Great numbers for Zach Wheeler, a 92 overall. A very good top-end rotation pitcher here. 2 years on that contract for him, but definitely a good ace here for Zach Wheeler. So today is the AL preview. After this, we're going to have opening day coming out relatively soon after we get all these rosters and everything finished. There's a look at a snapshot again of his stats and 99 velocity. So he's got pretty even stats all across the board. So Zach Wheeler going to be a pretty good pitcher. Luis Severino is also a very good pitcher. He was one of the better pitchers in the entire sim than our last sim that we had, and he's battled some injuries the last couple of seasons, so we got to watch out for that. He's only pitched 18 innings the last 2 seasons that he's been in the majors, but he is a potential, so he's definitely got room to grow, and he's 81 overall. I think he's going to do pretty well in this franchise. I've seen that he's pretty successful in other sims that I've watched, so yeah, I mean, he's a good pitcher. And we'll see how good he is overall in this save. As we got Kyle Gibson also, Mel Kelly, Joe Ross, and that's pretty much the extent of this starting pitching here. So it's a decent starting pitching staff. I do like Wheeler and Luis Severino. Not sure if they have any really big pitching prospects here. They do have Chris Pubik here, but I think that's pretty much it. They don't have like any depth here and their pitching, so that might be a little bit concerning. But now moving over their relief pitching here, it looks decent, looks all right. Brad Boxberger is their top reliever, 33-year-old, 78 overall pitcher. Cody Hoyer has B potential. He's pretty young, so he still has room to grow. And then the closer is Corey Knebel, who has 97 K per 9, 84 hit per 9, but does walk a lot and isn't that great at limiting home runs, and so he's an 80 overall with A potential, or B potential, so we'll see how he does. Now, their catcher is going to be Will Smith. Will Smith, one of the better catchers in the entire league here, and probably the best, I think might have been the best catcher ratings-wise. I mean, he's only 27. He's got A potential. He's got 95 power versus righties, and he's got very good fielding stats, so Will Smith, definitely a really good catcher here for the Expos. Yeah, definitely a very good catcher, and a guy that I definitely feel like is going to get better and better as this franchise goes along. Only being 27 is huge. And then their backup, Cam Gallagher. They do also have Cal Raleigh there, but decent catcher position there. But then they have Joey Votto here, who is 38 years old, so probably only going to be in the league for the next couple of years. He does have some really good stats against righties, though. I'm surprised at how good he is against righties. He's actually very decent overall for being 38 years old, and you will probably end up taking this year in overall and stats-wise and everything like that. But we'll see. He's still, obviously he's still a very, very good player. Probably a Hall of Famer first baseman. So, yeah, just towards the end of his career, though. But, yeah, he's got good stats. Should be decent for, around a year or two. And then they also have another older player there, Ryan Zimmerman, also at first base. So, 37 and 38-year-old there at first base. First base is pretty old for that club. And now we move over at second base is Nicky Lopez, much more of a defender than a hitter. Doesn't have very good hitting stats at all, but does have some pretty decent fielding stats. So, we'll see. Probably won't do very well in this sim, but he is their starting second baseman. And then they look down there, and Xavier Edwards here is one of their top prospects. Got all right hitting stats. I think he's still probably a year, maybe even 2 years away from being in the majors, but he's got a lot of potential, so we'll see. He'll probably be playing this year in Double-A for most, if not all, of the season. And then we go over to third baseman here, and Ryan McMahon is this team's third baseman. And I like Ryan McMahon as a Rockies fan. I really hope that Ryan McMahon can do well in this save. I'm not sure how good he will do. His hitting stats are just really, they're just okay. Much more of a really good fielder at third base. So Ryan McMahon, third baseman here, and I do actually think that this team has better fielding so far. At least their fielders have all been pretty solid for the most part. And then shortstop is going to be Bryson Stott, one of the really young and promising players in real life, also as well as this game. 24 years old, so he's a little bit of older and on the older side for a prospect, and we'll see how good he does in this save, especially in this first year as a rookie. He does have a couple of decent hitting stats, though. The contact is all right. It's at a pretty good spot, and his fielding is pretty decent. But yeah, we'll see how Bryson Stott does in this sim, though. That's short. And then we move over to this team's outfield here, and starting in left is going to be Lourdes Gurriel Jr. And 28 years old, 87 overall. He's one of the better power hitters, especially in the league. Gurriel Jr., yeah, this is really good stats here for Gurriel Jr., and he should be a pretty good player. He actually has some very good infield versatility also. He can play second, third, and short, so that might come in handy later on down the line in the sim. But yeah, Gurriel Jr., very good left fielder here for the Expos. And then we move over into center, and at center field is George Springer, and he's more of a power hitter for sure. Got 89, 81 power. Very good hitter here in George Springer. So they got a couple of guys from Toronto on this team here in the outfield so far. And he was decent last year in only 78 games. So we'll see how good George Springer will be in this save. He's a guy that has decent stats for sure. And then also in center here, Benny Montgomery is one of the top prospects in the entire league here at 19 years old. And because of that age, he won't be starting in the majors this year. He could probably come up, though, at his age 20 season based on his stats right now. I mean, very good baseline stats here for Benny Montgomery. A B potential right now, a very high B potential, I believe. And, got very decent hitting stats there. Got very good fielding stats already. So Benny Montgomery, a very promising prospect for sure. And then moving over into right, not very good. Dominic Fletcher probably won't start, honestly. I'm looking at this, and I don't really know who their right fielder is going to be because I do not like having Dominic Fletcher there. Andy Pages probably is going to end up being their starting right fielder just because he does have B potential, and honestly, he's got around the same stats as that other guy. So, yeah, probably Andy Pages. He's not in the majors right now, but I can change that. So, probably going to be the right fielder, but that is the Montreal Expos. So, a decent team overall there in Montreal. Now we move over to the Boston Barons here as we change these jersey and this logo up a lot here, and I really like this team's logo now, and these jerseys are pretty sick. So, we're going to take a look at this team here, starting off with the pitching, which isn't really that great, I'll be honest. Nathan Eovaldi is going to be their best pitcher, and, he's a good pitcher. He's all right, but I don't know. On a lot of other teams, he wouldn't really be an ace, so, he's kind of like I like more of his stats, kind of like he's a 2 or a 3 pitcher, but, he's there as their ace right now. Then they also do have Trevor Rogers, of course, pitcher in our Marlins franchise. So really hoping and seeing what Trevor Rogers can do here in this save. But, yeah, I mean, we have already looked at Taylor Rogers' stat line before in our Miami Marlins franchise. So won't really talk. But he does have a potential, of course, so he's really good. And then Jordan Montgomery here, and then besides that, you got Plesac and Fultonevich. But yeah, it's not an amazing pitching staff, I would say, and don't have really anybody in their farm system. So, we'll see about this starting pitching. They do have Devi Garcia, actually, who, a B potential, 22 years old. He's a decent prospect here for the Barons. As taking a look there, not very many other guys. Adrian Morehone is also here as well, but he's one of the lower tier prospects, already 23 and only a 63 overall. So going to relief pitching here, and again, all these teams' relief pitching is probably around the same. Not anybody super crazy good or super cracked at relief pitching there, as Drew Seidendecker is their best relief pitcher here, and a lot of guys with C potential on this team's bullpen for sure. And then David Bednar is going to be their closing pitcher here. And I do like David Bednar. I think he's got some decent stats, only 27, so he's a guy that could definitely grow. And he did pitch 60 innings last year and was the Pirates' best reliever and was really, really good, actually, with those stat line last year. So we'll see what he does. At catcher is going to be Max Stassi. And again, Max Stassi is very defense heavy. 95 fielding, 97 reaction. He's just a defensive catcher for sure, because the offense, he's not very good at all for Max Stassi. And then we go to first base here, and first baseman is going to be Darren Ruff, who does have 94 power versus lefties, but that's pretty much his only really good stat. He does have good fielding and good reaction, but good discipline also. But Darren Ruff probably going to be a pretty average hitter. And then we get to second base, and I love this because, of course, this is Boston, and the Boston team is gonna got Trevor Story with their first overall, or with their first pick in this draft. I thought that was just perfect. So, just like in real life, Trevor Story playing for Boston here. This time he's playing for the Boston Barons. Better against lefties. But Trevor Story should be a very good hitter in this save, for sure. Got really good hitting stats, and only 29, got a potential. So, yeah, I really like Trevor Story. Of course, being a Rockies fan, I'm really gonna be rooting for him in this save for sure. And then you go to third base, and their third baseman here is Luis Arias, who has a potential, 79 overall. I like Luis Arias, actually. I think he's got some pretty good stats already, especially that contact versus lefties. And, he's a guy that's going to get better as the save goes along, you hope. And, a pretty good, promising young player here for the Boston Barons at third base. So, definitely like Luis Arias right there in that spot. And then their shortstop here, Amed Rosario. Not a great player here. He does have some decent contact numbers, I guess, but probably will be a pretty average hitter, although we'll see. So some of these guys that I'm thinking might probably going to be average hitters might surprise me. You never know. And then their outfield here is going to be Andrew McCutchen. So they have a couple of guys from Milwaukee here on this team starting also. But Andrew McCutchen, left fielder, not great on the defensive side, and past his prime hitting wise also. But he's a decent left fielder. And then center field, Kevin Kiermaier, of course, known for his unbelievable defense, and he's probably the best defensive, outfielder there is in this entire game. I mean, he's got 399 overall fielding stats. So, yeah, he's going to field the ball well, but he's probably not going to hit the ball well, and that's what he struggled with in his career. Not a very good hitter, and so we'll have to see what they do with Kevin Kiermaier, but of course the defense is really, really good. And then the right fielder here is going to be Kyle Tucker, and Kyle Tucker's got a lot of potential in this save. A potential and an 85 overall already. Very even hitting stats here. His lowest is 62. And, yeah, I really do like Kyle Tucker here in this spot. I think he's got a great chance at, getting better in this save. And so I think this offense is overall pretty decent, actually, I think. But the pitching is probably going to hold them back. I don't like this team's pitching staff. But, their offense is pretty decent. So, we'll see how good Boston does this year. All right, so now we're going to move over to the New York Honey Badgers here. And kept these jerseys the same, but I really did like the look here. I wanted to kind of keep the Yankee gray and all that, and with this team, and this team is pretty good. I actually think that this team is going to be one of the better teams in the league, as Carlos Rodon is their ace, and last year he was really amazing. Of course, he got hurt towards the end of the season, which was really unfortunate because before that he was pitching lights out. So he's a very good pitcher. And then their second starter is Zach Greinke, who is, a guy at the end of his career for sure. 38 years old, not going to be around for too much longer, but he does actually have a very good overall right now. 87 overall for Zach Greinke. Definitely take that numbers for him, and he's, one of the career better pitchers in the league, getting finished with 3,000 strikeouts, it looks like. But yeah, Zach Greinke is there. He's pretty good. Chris Paddock is also here as 26 with B potential, so we'll just have to see how good Chris Paddock becomes and how much Chris Paddock grows in this save. Josh James, not very good. They do have Luis Gil here with B potential and 23 years old, so he's got a chance to be a good pitcher here in this league. He did pitch a little bit last year, not very much, but he's a guy that could potentially turn into something. He's got some potential for sure. So, overall, a pretty decent pitching staff here for New York. They also have Simeon Richardson as well, and looking at his stats here, he's got B potential. He's only 21, so the looks of Richardson there. So they do have a couple of good pitching prospects here on this team also. So now we move over, and here are their relievers. Starting relievers really not that great. Not very many high potentials here, as Anthony Bender is their best one at 79 overall. He just a very, very decent bullpen, as Anthony Bender. I did forget that he is in the Marlins bullpen. So, maybe I should be rooting. I should be definitely rooting for Anthony Bender to do well in this save, and he is their best relief pitcher here for New York. And their closer is going to be Kirby Yates. So they do have one of the better closers in the league here with Kirby Yates, who's got 99 K per 9 and has really good stats. I mean, his break is ridiculous. 99 break. That's really impressive. So his pitches move a lot. And didn't pitch a lot last year. Only pitched 4.1 innings. But the year before that, he was incredible. Up there for reliever of the year. I mean, the last 2 years, really, before last year when he got hurt, he was incredible for San Diego. So, yeah, Kirby Yates is going to be their closer, a good closer, one of the better ones in the league. Catcher, not much to say here. Jorge Alfaro is not very good. Got 98 arm, but not very good besides that. Doesn't have good hitting stats. They do have Alejandro Kirk also here, and Alejandro Kirk, I might kind of raise his stats a little bit because I know he's doing super good in real life. I believe he's going to be an all-star in real life. In this game, I don't really know if he's going to do that great, honestly, with those stats. I might want to increase those stats just a little bit because right now I don't think he's not even on the Major League team right now. I'll call him up, I think, at the beginning of the year. But I do have Alejandro Kirk, so potential with him there. And then first base. Now, right here it has Rowdy Tellez as the first baseman, but I'll actually tell you that once I, kind of started looking at the players that were still yet to be signed, Miguel Cabrera had not been signed by anybody yet, and this team was like a perfect fit for first baseman. So Rowdy Tellez is their backup first baseman. Miguel Cabrera is actually their starting first baseman right now, so just telling you that, as Jeff McNeil is actually their starting second baseman here. And, Jeff McNeil is okay. He's hitting really well in real life, actually, though. He's, crushing the ball. He's getting on base a ton in real life. But, we'll see what he does in this game. Doesn't have the most amazing hitting stats, so we'll see. They do also have John Birdie, who is in the Mariners franchise for us, and he got hurt, and he's out for a long time. But, not going to be a starter on this team. As their third baseman is Austin Riley, and Austin Riley is one of those guys with a ton of potential and very young still. I mean, 86 power versus righties. Yeah, Austin Riley, definitely a guy to watch out for as being one of the better hitters, over the course of this save and in the future the sim. He has some great stuff, great stats, really amazing season last year. He had 33 home runs with over 100 ribbies last year. So Austin Riley, one of the better third basemen in the entire league. Shortstop is going to be Ha-Seong Kim, and all about the defense here for Kim. His fielding is really good. His hitting is not very good at all. So, we'll see. Kim probably going to struggle in the majors this year, especially hitting-wise. And then we move over to the outfield here, and their left fielder is Christian Yelich. Now, Yelich really, in real life, fallen off since he won an MVP award and a few years ago when he won it in 2019. But Yelich in this game, he's just overall decent stats. Again, last year was not his season, of course. Only 9 home runs and basically 400 at-bats. But, he's still got all right stats in this game. You really hope he does perform, though, because that contract that he's got is about to be really ridiculous, and Honey Badgers are going to be spending a ton of money on that contract at some point. So you hope that Christian Yelich can do something on offense and can kind of prove that contract, because that might end up being a contract that they're not going to like as the series goes on. But we'll see how good that he is in there. And then Ramon Laureano, one of the better outfielders in our MLB The Show 20 sim, but got all right stats. He does have great contact versus lefties. Struggles to hit the ball and get the ball in play against righties, however. But he's got decent center field stats here. He's a decent outfielder for sure. Then right fielder here, of course, again, not really doing this on purpose, but of course Aaron Judge is going to be with New York. Again, another guy that just fits the place that drafted him perfectly. So, Aaron Judge right now is like an MVP right now, going to be in the All-Star game, has like 30 home runs right now in real life, and my goodness, he's got some great stats right here. Last year he hit 39 bombs. He's just a guy that hits home runs a ton, and, going to be a free agent at the end of the year, so that'll be interesting. But, yeah, Aaron Judge, one of the better outfielders in the entire league, one of the better players and hitters overall in the entire league. Great fielding stats, great hitting stats. Aaron Judge is kind of cracked, and he should be really good. Should be pretty dominant in this sim, I would think. But, yeah, of course, it's quite fitting that he's with New York, though. I liked that. But, yeah, overall a good team here for New York, I think. I think they're one of the better teams in the league. I think they're ranked in the top 5. But, they got a good team here. And now we're going to move on to Winnipeg here. The Winnipeg Wizards. I love these jerseys, by the way. I would say that these probably are my favorite jerseys that I made in terms of a total set. I think I like the home Bees uniforms like the best overall, but just the home and away with these jerseys are so good. These jerseys turned out so much better than I thought they were going to when I started making them. But, man, I love these jerseys, and this team is pretty decent here as Robbie Ray is their ace. Of course, was very good last year, right? Won the American League Cy Young Award last season and has some pretty decent stats. So he is their ace. Sandy Alcantara pitching at that number 2 spot. We got to cheer for Alcantara for sure. Got to hope he does well in this sim because he's part of the Miami Marlins franchise. So cheering for Alcantara to pitch well. And I already taking a look at his stat line and already know what his stat line looks like. Corey Kluber also there as their third ace, our third pitcher. Carlos Martinez is also there. And so that's just a quick snapshot of their starters. Now moving over to relief pitching, and it's going to be Chad Green as their best reliever here. I do like Chad Green, actually. I think he's one of the better relief pitchers in the game as 82 overall. That's pretty good. The bullpen does kind of fall off after Chad Green, though, unfortunately. Next best guy is Michael King. Not a great bullpen behind Chad Green for sure. And then closing pitcher, not amazing. Zach Britton isn't really that amazing not that amazing of a closer. He could pitch very well, but, I have my kind of concerns about him. He hasn't pitched very much at all the last couple of seasons, so we'll just have to see what he does. And then catcher, not very good. Kyle Higashioka. Yeah, just note for this defense, not a very good starting catcher here. Honestly, not very good depth at all. Catching positions, one of the weaker catching positions we've seen in this save. So their first baseman moving on is Yuri Gurriel, 37 years old. He's an old guy, and he's doing pretty bad in real life, I think. But he's got really good hitting stats though, starting out in this game. And we'll see. First baseman, he's really old, so we'll see how much longer he really stays in the league. But he's all right. And then we move over to second base. And their second baseman here, Willie Castro. Not that great of a second baseman there. Only really good contact against lefties. That's pretty much it. Christian Arroyo is their third baseman. Arroyo's not that great either. Decent fielding stats, I guess. But now getting to shortstop. And Willie Adames, a guy with eight potential. Another Milwaukee Brewer. And got a potential, has shown promise, and in our MLB 27, he was one of the better shortstops around. So got hope that Adames can be very good in this save. We'll just have to see. Anthony Volpe here at 20 years old. Good contact numbers, I guess, and good fielding numbers, but everything else is really bad for him right now. Very underdeveloped power and vision. So we'll just have to see how he does in the minors. I will probably call him down in the minors because I don't think he's ready to start yet or even be a backup yet. As Ronnie Mauricio is also here. Very similar numbers, actually. Very similar to Anthony Volpe, except a little bit worse even with those hitting ratings. So they do have a couple of guys in their farm system, but I think both of these guys are pretty far, still a few years from being in the major leagues with those hitting stats. And then moving over to their outfield, I think the outfield is definitely the strength of this team, as Nick Castellanos, not hitting very well in real life. He is my fantasy baseball team. I kind of wish that he would be hitting a little bit better in Philadelphia, but he has got really good hitting ratings, though. He had a very good season last year with 34 homers and 100 ribbies, so not worried about Nick Castellanos in this save. I think his offense is going to be really good, so he's a very good left fielder there. Of course, the fielding is a little bit awkward there. I think he might be a DH, but man, he's a really good outfielder for sure. And then center field isn't great, as Austin Slater's their starter right now. They do have Jason Dominguez, though, and I know Jason Dominguez in the MLB Show 20 sim when you load it up, he's like a 70 overall, and he's like 18 years old or something like really crazy like that. So, Jason Dominguez in this save is really only 1 or 2 years away from being in the majors. Like, he's a very good prospect, for sure. Only an 18, 72 overall. Yeah, Dominguez is one of the better prospects in the league. And then they have Luis Matos also. So, again, I really do like this offense for sure, because they have really good prospects here that they're going to be able to use in the future. They have Nick Castellanos. And then, of course, you saw it, and when we switched over to this roster, they have Bryce Harper in right field. So, yeah, a pretty good outfield here for the Winnipeg Wizards. But Bryce Harper is the star of the show, NL MVP last season. This is one of the best hitters in the entire league. People love to hate Bryce Harper, but he is just such a good hitter. Such a good hitter. 429 on base last year. He was unbelievable. So, yeah, Bryce Harper is really good. He's the star of this ball club. Overall, the Wizards are just okay. Not an amazing offense. Not, a super amazing pitching staff. They're pretty average is what I'm looking at and what I'm seeing. So, now I go to the Firebirds, and this team had the second overall draft pick, I believe, if I can remember. And with that second pick, they got Shohei Ohtani. Now, of course, if you're just a casual baseball person, how unbelievably talented and just unbelievably crazy Shohei is in real life. Never seen it before. This is a guy that can pitch and hit at just an elite level. And just a reminder of what he did last year when he won the MVP. He, had 46 home runs and 100 RBIs as a hitter. Unbelievable offensively. and he also had a 3.18 ERA, and it was just unbelievable. So there are his hitting stats right there. 99 power on both sides of the plate, and just unbelievable. 64 and 60 contact numbers. He's going to be a great hitter. He's going to hit bombs, and he's going to get on base pretty well. So, not only can he do that, he's got those amazing hitting stats. He be a guy that hits 40 plus home runs. But then you also looked at, his pitching stats earlier. And, of course, his pitching stats are also really, really incredible. As, 95 overall, the pitching, and just such a unicorn, really, a guy that does everything and nobody else has been able to do anything. I mean, he is the only guy that is going to be able to do what he can do in this sim, and so it's going to be super, super, super exciting to watch Shohei Ohtani actually play well, because, he was in the roster and only the 20, but I remember we tried to use him as a pitcher for a while, and he just sucked as a pitcher, and the only the 20 save that we were trying to do, and so we just made him a hitter. We just made an entirely new Shohei Ohtani, but now we can actually use him as both a pitcher and a hitter in this save, so it's going to be really, really awesome. And really, really exciting to just see what he can do in this sim. I'm really, really pumped for Shohei Ohtani, for sure. But yeah, besides him, you got Ryu, you got Castillo, you got Brady Singer. It's a decent pitching rotation outside of Shohei. And then you get to the bullpen, and it's really all about Matt Barnes, because as soon as you get away from Matt Barnes, his bullpen is not very good. Matt Barnes is very good, though. 94 K per 9, 87 hit per 9. He's one of the better, just overall relief pitchers in the league. But, yeah, it's a huge drop-off from Matt Barnes to everybody else. Jose Alvarado's got really good stats besides that walk per 9. So, Lucas Sims is another, he's a decent reliever here. 27 years old. He's got peak potential. I like Lucas Sims. He's a guy that I can see definitely getting better as the series goes on. He's a decent closer. We'll see how he does in the closer role. As their catcher, here's Christian Vasquez. Not a great catcher, all things considered. Just an overall very, very average catcher for sure. As getting to first base, right now at first base is Pete Alonso. In real life, man, Pete Alonso has been unbelievable in real life. And he's got great power right now in this save. So I like Pete Alonso. I think he's a very, very talented hitter. And, of course, what he did in his rookie year was insane. And last year, man, he hit 37 home runs. So, yeah, this is definitely a guy to watch out for, to be a very, very good player in this save. Really, really like Pete Alonso a lot, for sure. Second base, Luis Garcia. Decent. He does have pretty good contact ratings, especially against lefties, but other than those two ratings, doesn't look that great for Luis Garcia. Jeimer Candelario, also a very average player, not very great defensively, very average hitter. So, just average at third base here, not very much depth either. And then shortstop is Nico Hoerner. And Nico Hoerner, man, this guy could be turning into something really good. He's got any potential. And, those fielding ratings are absolutely insane. One of the best young fielders in the entire league. And he was actually pretty decent hitting-wise last year in very limited chances. But, he's got any potential. So, watch out. Nico Hoerner could certainly become a pretty good player here in this sim. And then in left is Jesse Winker. Jesse Winker took off in our MLB 20 franchise we built, franchise that we were doing in the custom league. And he's got amazing stats against righties. Honestly, he's one of the better hitters in the league. He hit so many home runs last year. I believe he had 37 home runs or something last year. We're going to look at his stats here in a second. But, yeah, Jesse Winker is really, really good. He actually only hit 24 last year. I'm thinking of somebody else, I think, on the Mariners that hit a lot of home runs last season. But, of course, amazing against righties, and we'll see what he does. And then out there in center is Miles Straw. Really, the only thing that he brings to the table is speed and defense, because he's not a very good hitter at all. especially against lefties. He really, really struggles against lefties. So, and then on right is Will Myers, who is very average, C potential. So, the outfield is pretty average. Overall, this team is pretty average. We'll see. I mean, they have Shohei, so that really does make a difference when I look at this roster. But, overall, I feel like it's a team that picked second in the draft. You would think that their roster would be a little bit better than this. Overall, it's just a decent roster, I feel like. So, okay, now we get to the Vancouver Vandals. Love this team's jersey. Love this team's logo also, too. This is a great logo, I feel. Super cool. But Steven Strasburg here is their ace. An 87 overall pitcher with B potential. And unfortunately, in real life, he's really struggling. He might actually be injured in real life, too. I know his contract in this game is really ridiculous, so hopefully he pitches well. Ian Anderson is very, very good here. A very good young pitcher that, you're hoping if you're the Vandals can just turn into one of the better pitchers in the league in a few years. And he's certainly got the potential to do it, and is certainly young enough to do it as well. So I do like Ian Anderson a lot here for Vancouver. Taijuan Walker is, their third pitcher here. He's all right. It's just a decent pitching rotation, really. Not anything super crazy good for Vancouver. Moving over to relievers, Richard Blair is their best relief pitcher. Cheering for him, Marlins guy, and we'll see how good he does. And then closing pitcher is Nick Anderson. And Nick Anderson is a decent enough closing pitcher. Nothing really wrong with Nick Anderson. He's got 90 K per 9, 83 hit per 9. He's definitely a very decent relief pitcher there. And now we go to catcher, and right now their starting catching is not good at all. Tiger Barnhart is just not ever good, very good catcher. The defense is okay, I guess, but man, the bat, something to be desired there. They do also have Gary Sanchez, but looking at Gabriel Moreno, guy in the Blue Jays farm system in real life, and one of the top catching prospects in all of baseball. And so that's the guy that you are thinking in, a year or so is going to just take over for you in that catcher spot and just be this team's starting catcher for the future, for sure, if you are the Vandals. And then their first baseman here, they only have one first baseman right now. I probably have to go and sign somebody else for their roster. But their first baseman is Anthony Rizzo, 22 years old. Got good hitting stats for sure. Was pretty good in New York last year. And a decent first baseman. Ketel Marte is their second baseman. And Ketel Marte, man, one of the more underrated players in the league. And they really made him very good in this sim right now. I mean, yeah, he was great. And, 340 at-bats last year with a 318 average. One of the better contact guys in the league. But he also has really good power against lefties also. So, definitely really good there. And then their third baseman, best third baseman in the entire league, is Nolan Arenado. And, of course, as a Rockies fan, I really want to see Nolan Arenado do well. But I'm also still mad that the Rockies traded him for basically nothing. But either way, very excited to see what Nolan does here in Vancouver. Unbelievable stats. The fielding is incredible. One of the best, if not the best, fielding third baseman in the entire league. And then the offense. Of course, this year, he's just playing at almost MVP level this season right now in real life. And he has such good stats in this game. Really, really, really like that. I think he's the best third baseman in the league for sure. Shortstop is J.P. Crawford. Weakest position player so far, by far. J.P. is decent. Not anything super great there for Crawford and for shortstop. They have a lot of shortstops, but don't really have a lot of good shortstops. So, moving over to the outfield, then it's Austin Meadows. And Austin Meadows in 2010 became one of the better hitters in the league, and I think he's got a lot of promise in this save as he's got a potential, and right now is already 82 and already has good hitting stats to start out with. So I definitely like Austin Meadows as a player for sure here in left field. I think he's going to be pretty good. Leody Taveras, the hitting is really bad actually for him. The defense is pretty good, but the hitting is not very good. So we'll just see. He might not be very good in this save. And then we get to right field, and it's another Rocky here in Charlie Blackmon, Chuck Nasty in right. Of course, I'm going to be cheering for Chuck Nasty to do nasty stuff here for the Vandals. He's got good ratings, good hitting ratings. You know, he's on the older side right at 35, so he'll be declining in this save for sure. But you know, really like Chuck Nasty, like Charlie Blackmon a lot. So we'll see how good he is in this sim for sure. But you know, a decent overall team. I feel like they might surprise some people. They do have some, you know, good top end talent. I think their pitching probably leaves a little bit to be desired, but overall good team. So now we're gonna go to the get to the Raptors. Here, I'm trying to remember. I think it's Vancouver. Yeah, the Vancouver Raptors. And like this team's logo a ton. This team's home jersey are really good. I don't know if I like their road jerseys as much, but either way, Logan Webb is their team's ace, and I think there's a lot to be desired on this team's pitching staff because it's just not very good. Now, Cal Quantrill, one of those guys that, in MLB Custom 20 franchise, somehow became a really good pitcher, and he's got big potential. So we'll see. Cal Quantrill has a possibility to outplay expectations and outplay ratings for sure. And then we get to Shane Baz here, who's going to be in the Major League team to start the year off. And, he's got good ratings, pretty decent ratings here by Shane Baz. I do like Shane Baz as a prospect for sure. And so, who knows? No telling how good he's going to actually be. But, he's there as a prospect for him. Emerson Hancock going to start the year in AAA. He's got, pretty decent stats. Also, he's 22A potential. So, got a couple of young relievers here. They also have George Kirby, too, who's on the older side for a prospect. Don't know when we're going to see George Kirby actually pitch in this save, but, he's there, too. So, they do have a few pitching prospects, but overall pitching is not a strong suit on this team. And then looking up their relief pitching, A.J. Minter is their top reliever. Jake McGee, also there. J.B. Wonderkin, also there. Just a decent overall bullpen. Not anything too crazy with that. Closing pitching here is Aroldis Chapman. And, of course, we know he can throw the ball like crazy, right? 99 velocity, 99 hit per 9, and 98 K per 9. The walks are an issue, and in recent years, especially last year, he was not amazing as a closer. So we'll have to see how he does in this franchise. I am interested to see how Aroldis Chapman will play, because in recent years he's kind of struggled, but he's there as well in that catcher role, and then that's Travis d'Arnaud, who is their team starting catcher, and he's decent, not anything super crazy, just a very average catcher, I would say. And then there's Keibert Ruiz, one of those younger catchers for Washington. And honestly, he's gonna hopefully get a lot of playing time in this save. I might even just have him start over d'Arnaud. I might do that, but overall, a couple of decent catchers here for the Raptors. First baseman. This team also only has one first baseman. But their first baseman is Jared Walsh, who, for the Angels, started out the year super hot and then really cooled down. And Jared Walsh, great stuff against righties, but does really struggle against lefties. So we will see how he does in this sim. I think I might raise that contact versus lefties just a little bit. But, we'll see. Jared Walsh is their first baseman. Second baseman, Cesar Hernandez. Nothing special, nothing crazy there. Cesar Hernandez is very decent. Third baseman is going to be Gio Urshela, who does have good hitting ratings. I think those hitting ratings are very decent. He's overall just an average player, but I do like that. I do like the contact and everything. I do think those are pretty decent hitting stats for him. They also have Nolan Gorman as well on this team. And I might want to go and raise Nolan Gorman's stats a little bit too here, because right now he's not very highly rated, but he's a good third base prospect. This is the guy that the Rockies should have got when they traded Nolan Arenado, by the way. But either way, he's there at third base, so they do have a prospect there. And then their shortstop here is Xander Bogaerts, and Xander Bogaerts is all about the hitting for Xander. The fielding is not great. He's gotten better at fielding over the years, but still definitely not his strong suit. His strong suit is definitely his bat. He hits the ball very hard, gets on base a lot, so got very good hitting ratings. And we'll see. I like Xander Bogaerts as a hitter for sure. And then in left field here, moving on to the outfield. This outfield is pretty good, as Andrew Benintendi here is their starting left fielder. And Benintendi's hitting stats are pretty decent. Nothing amazing, but not bad either, for sure. Brian De La Cruz is in center, and we know his story and his stats because he's in the Marlins franchise. But there he is, just another look at his hitting ratings and everything. And then when we move over to right field, and this is this team's prize here, Juan Soto. I think they were the first overall pick in the entire draft, and this is who they went with. Juan Soto, simply incredible. His hitting is just on another level entirely. He's only 23 years old, and he is 91 overall, and he has unbelievable hitting stats. This is a guy that's going to dominate the entire league for years to come, both in the save and in real life. Juan Soto, one of the better hitters we've seen in a very, very long time. And I think this is, a good first pick. I was deciding between Soto and Shohei, but I just could not ignore the only being 23 for Juan Soto. I could not ignore that age. That age just really caught me. He is so young, so good already. So, yeah, Juan Soto is a superstar, one of the better hitters in the entire league, and a great first pick in my book. So now we get over to the Portland Chinooks, as Chris Sale is this team's ace. I really also love these jerseys as well. Chris Sale, got hurt last year, only pitched 42 innings, but he's got great ratings all across the board, and he's a very good pitcher. Now, I will say that the pitching rotation really does drop off after Chris Sale here, because the next best pitcher is Tyler Mahle at 82 overall. Just not anything that great. They do have John Gray, and I'll hope John Gray has success. They also have Griffin Canning, who is B potential, 74 overall. So he's a decent reliever with pretty much just average, very average stats. And then looking at relief pitching here, bullpen, very average, like most other bullpens. Looking at that there, and then very quickly moving on. Now their closer is really good. Giovanni Gallegos, only 30 years old, 99 hit per nine. One of the better closers in the entire league. So I really like this closing pitcher pick here for the Chinooks, as Gallegos probably is in that top 5 of closing pitchers for me in this save. He's very, very good, very, very solid, and he should be great in this sim. So that's their closing pitching. Bullpen is pretty good overall. And then moving over to catcher, Carson Kelly, really good against lefties actually. Struggles against righties though, but that is their starting catcher there. 27 years old, he's just a decent catcher overall. So, nothing too crazy special there at the catcher position. But now we move over to first base, and their first baseman is Ty France, who is an all-star in real life. Real life has been hitting unbelievable, and, he's got good contact ratings for sure. I might actually increase his ratings even more before the season starts, because I feel like he deserves it for how well he's playing in real life right now. Definitely one of the more underrated first basemen in the entire league. As looking at first base here, Nick Pratto is a top prospect. He is still only he's 23, so he's a little bit older for a prospect, but I think in a few years he should be ready. Although his vision is super low, but I like Ty France though at first base for sure for this team. Second base is going to be Colton Wong. Again, Colton Wong, just a good fielder. That's about it, really. Just a very average hitter. And a very average second base here. Don't really have much here. Don't have a lot of depth at second base at all. And then we go to third base, and it's Matt Chapman, who, Matt Chapman is up there with Nolan Arenado in terms of defense for a third baseman. And I can see how some people might say he's actually a better fielder than Nolan Arenado, but the offense is definitely not as good. And, the hitting ratings are okay, but we will have to see how he hits in the save. I know that offense is just not his best aspect of his game. It's definitely the defense. So, an interesting third baseman there for sure. And then at short is Bo Bichette. This is this team's, second best overall player outside of Chris Sale. This is this team's best rated position player at the very least. And Bichette, really, really good. Amazing against lefties. 99 contact against lefties. Very good against righties also. Bo Bichette should be really good in this sim. I would guarantee it, as 29 home runs last year for the Blue Jays, and one of the better young stars in the entire league to build around for sure at only age 24. Yeah, this is a very good guy to build a franchise around for sure. For the Chinooks, I really like this pick when they were able to get Bo Bichette for sure. And then moving over into left is Aristides Aquino. Very low contact, pretty decent power. Not a really crazy good left fielder though for him. And then Kyle Lewis is in center. Kyle Lewis has potential. For sure, he's got, good, decent hitting stats. He's all right, just a very average fielder. But yeah, definitely, Kyle Lewis definitely has, a chance and to be a good catcher, I think, and, a decent, he got a potential too, so he definitely can grow also. And then in right, Tyler Naquin is decent. So, the outfield is decent. The offense overall, I think, is going to be very decent. I think this team is going to be very decent also. It's not an amazing team necessarily by any stretch. So, all right, we're gonna move on here now to the Los Angeles Dragons, and this team is one of the lower-rated teams in the league, and you're gonna kind of tell why, because right now they're pitching besides Shane Bieber, it's just not good. Shane Bieber is really good though, of course, and man, he's just such a solid pitcher all across the board with those stats. He has not really ever had his rookie year was kind of bad, but I mean, this is a guy that's really good. Shane Bieber is a top pitcher in the league without a doubt. Very, very good ace there. And then Mike Soroka is their number 2 guy, 24 years old and 83 overall. Got some potential. Definitely could grow and get better. Kenta Maeda there as well. But overall, besides Shane Bieber, again, just not a very good pitching rotation at all. They do also have Tyreek Skubal, who's, 25, so he's definitely a lot older. But he does have the potential, does have some decent pitching ratings. Probably we'll see him at the September call-up period, and that's what I'm assuming we're probably going to call him up and give him a shot in the majors. But also Cole Winn, there's a look at him, 22 years old, a potential. He's from Colorado, so got that Colorado bias about me. I hope he does well for sure. And then looking at relief pitching here, I actually do think that this relief pitching is actually pretty good, although it's very old. As you got Tyler Matzek, 31 years old. Then you got Oliver Perez, who's 40. Probably will not be in the bigs for much longer at all. Craig Stammen is old too at 38. So it's definitely an older bullpen, and that's kind of why they're able to get a lot of these better bullpen guys, because they are a lot older. Rex Brothers is listed as their closer. Probably won't actually be their closing pitcher just because he's not that great, especially with the walk per 9 very, very low, and only see potential. And 34, he's not very good at all. I really do not like that low walk per 9 stat. It really holds a lot of pitchers back most of the time in this game for sure. And then moving over to catcher, Ryan Jeffers, not good. He's actually not going to be the starter because Corey Lee will be the starter. Corey Lee might struggle in his rookie year. I think he probably will because his hitting stats are just kind of okay right now. They're not really that great, but don't really think this team has much of a choice right now because their other guy, Ryan Jeffers, is just not a starting catcher. He's just not good at all. So, and only deep potential too. So we got to give Corey Lee the over there on Ryan Jeffers to be this team's starter. So we'll see how his rookie year goes. At first base, Garrett Cooper. Like to see that. Hoping that Garrett Cooper does well, as I think is the last Miami Marlin guy that we're gonna see on any of these rosters, besides maybe a couple more relief pitchers. But second base is Jose Altuve, and people love to hate on Jose Altuve because of the whole trash can stuff. But I mean, man, he's hitting well again this season. He's an all-star, I believe, and one of the better hitting second basemen in the entire league. So I didn't need him being on trash cans to be a good player. But yeah, he's a really, really good, solid second baseman for sure. Michael Busch here, also at second base for him, with a potential, 24 years old, so definitely an older prospect for sure, but still got a potential. So then we go third base here, and yeah, I don't really care about Brad Miller because they got Bobby Witt Jr. And Bobby Witt Jr. will be the starting third baseman for this team. He's just, has a lot of more potential and is really pretty decent at fielding. The hitting stats are okay, but this guy's got a ton of potential. So definitely don't want to be taking the bat out of his hands. Want to give Bobby Witt Jr. just as many at-bats as he can. He's going to be one of the biggest front runners to win the Rookie of the Year award here this season for the American League. So yeah, definitely a very good player here, Bobby Witt Jr. for sure. And looking at shortstop is Corey Seager, who's good hitting stats. His fielding is not that great, but if he can use those hitting stats to his advantage and hit the ball well, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day for me. I do like those hitting stats a lot. Very even across the board for sure. All above 70. A lot of those stats are above 80 overall. So, and looking in left, Michael Brantley, 97 contact against righties, and an 81 overall. He's an older player at age 34, and will probably not be that great for very much longer. But right now, he's a decent hitter with good vision and good contact versus righties. Looking at center field is going to be Sam Hilliard, who's got some good power, but not really much else. Just a very average center fielder. And then Anthony Santander in right is also another very average player, very average right fielder. So, overall, it's not an amazing team, I don't think. So now we go on to the Phoenix Scorpions. And I do love this team's logo and really like this team's jersey also, as Tyler Glasnow is this team's best pitcher. And, he's got a lot of hate for sticky stuff, but he's still a good pitcher in this save. Aaron Savali, number 2 starter here, 26 years old, 82 overall. They got Madison Bumgarner here, Mad Bum. Definitely at the end of his career, for sure. But we'll see if we can get any more good pitching out of him at 32 years old. And then they got Rich Hill also, who's 42, super old guy, not going to be in the league for him. He's going to probably retire, in the next 2 years. So he's not going to be pitching for very long at all in our save here. But that's a look at their starting pitching. It's it's decent. It's all right. Daniel Peno is a good relief pitcher that they have here at B potential, 65 overall and 21 years old. A decent pitching prospect for Phoenix. They also do have Andrew Painter, who is only 18 and B potential also. So they also have Andrew Painter, one of the guys that was drafted last year that has got some height, but he's not a top prospect, but he's a guy to point out as well. And then we look to the relief pitching here, and it's very average, as you got Nick Sandlin as their best rated guy here. Josh Taylor also is there. Sergio Romo at the end of his career at 39 years old. Steve Cishek also just not an amazing bullpen. And then Taylor Rogers, though, this guy's a stud. I really, really like Taylor Rogers. And, he's got great velocity, great break on his pitches, very even repertoire there in his per nines. I think Taylor Rogers is going to show up and be one of the better relievers in the entire sim. So, really like Taylor Rogers there as their closing pitcher. I think overall the bullpen is decent for sure. And then they're looking at their catchers here. Yadier Molina is right now their starting catcher. In real life, Yadi is going to be retiring after this year, and unfortunately he got hurt, which really sucks. But I would say he's probably a Hall of Famer, or at the very least a very borderline Hall of Fame catcher. One of the better defensive catchers of all time. So they do have a backup plan, though, for when he does retire or when he really needs to become a backup in probably a year or two. As Henry Davis right now listed as their backup catcher, but will be taking over for this team after a couple of years. And man, Henry Davis, he has got some great hitting stats already, some really good fielding stats too. I think Henry Davis was one of the best catching prospects in the entire game. I really, really like Henry Davis. Excited to see what he can do in this sim. And then we go to first base, and Nathaniel Lowe is this team's first baseman. Nathaniel Lowe's not very good. Marcus Semien is this team's second baseman. This was the first guy that this team drafted. And, he's got decent hitting ratings. And last year, he was super good with Toronto, had like 40-plus homers. And so we'll see what he does right now. In real life, he's not hitting that great, but he did hit 45 home runs last year. So, if he puts up numbers even similar to that, you're not going to be complaining. One of the overall better rated second basemen in the league for sure. So, nothing wrong with Marcus Semien there. And then at third base is Alec Bohm, and he has really developed in our MLB 20 franchise as one of the better hitters in the entire league. But in this save, he's got some decent ratings for sure. Decent ratings. The fielding is not that great, but he's all right there with. And Wander Franco, man, what a pick for the Scorpions. I love Wander Franco. Of course, one of the most exciting, really, really young guys in the majors right now. And gosh, he's got really great contact, really great, especially against lefties. Good vision, good fielding stats. He's already 81 overall, and he's only 21 years old. Watch out for Wander Franco. He's going to be, he's looking to become one of the best players in just the entire league here for years to come. Really, really like Wander Franco a ton. So, wishing him all the best, and wishing that he's going to be a really great player in this save for sure. And then move over to the outfield. Tyrone Taylor in left. Fielding is about all that he can really do. Not good offensive numbers. Center field, Enrique Hernandez, not very good either. Not a very great outfield here. They do have Hunter Renfroe here on the right, though. And Hunter Renfroe, man, got amazing power. That's what he's really good at, is just hitting bombs. 87 or 89, 97 power. Just a great power hitter here. And he hit over 30 home runs last year. So, a good player. Now we move over to the AL West. This is the final division. And we're going to take a look first at the Houston Reapers. Jose Barrios, this team's ace, at 27 years old and 86 overall. Barrios is, pretty decent. One of those better, solid young pitchers in the league for sure. James Paxton, also here. They do have Ryan Yarbrough, and remember Ryan Yarbrough was on Houston for a while, and one of the better pitchers on that Houston team, so it's kind of funny that he ended up here in this fantasy draft also. But that's a look at their pitching there. They do have Jackson Jobe in the minors, who is only an 18. They also have Max Meyer, guy in our Miami franchise here, and we'll see what he does and see how he develops in this save. Relief pitching, Kendall Graven and Oliver Drake. Brusdar Gatterall, they also have him as well, and he's only 23. Already a 70 overall. And they have Brusdar in the actual other sim too. That's kind of crazy. I just realized that. And then catcher there, their closing pitcher was right there. Then James McCann is their starting catcher, and James McCann is not that great. But Tyler Soderstrom, a good catching prospect. His ratings are so even across the board, but their best offensive hitter and one of the best first basemen in the league is Freddie Freeman, of course. Left Atlanta for LA, and man, this guy is so good. Such good hitting ratings for him. One of the best hitters in the league. Got to love Freddie Freeman. One of the better first basemen in baseball. Second base, Jonathan Scope. Very average player. Decent offense. But Rafael Devers, really, really like Rafael Devers. I know I've seen some sims where he just absolutely takes off. He's got great start to these hitting ratings. I mean, 82 contact, 96 power. He mashes in real life too. He just gets on base at such an elite level. Really like Devers at third base for sure. Alberto Mondesi, good speed, decent fielding. We'll have to see how he's one of those guys that only has 60 durability. Has gotten injured a ton in real life, and has just not really worked out for the Royals. So we'll see what he does in the sim. But they do have Robert Poisson here, 19 years old with B potential, and not the crazy talented prospect that he was in the MLB The Show 20 sim that we did, but still a good prospect nonetheless. JD Martinez here starts out this outfield, and JD Martinez is a DH kind of player. Gosh, he's excellent. He's so good. Amazing hitting ratings for him. He's really, really good. And then Jesus Sanchez, of course, we know him from the Mariners franchise, and he's got a great overall. He's got some good stats. We've seen his stats before. So hoping that Jesus Sanchez can do well in the minor leagues. And then right field is going to be Mike Yastrzemski. And, he's just an all right fielder. But now we go to the Mexico City Diablos here. I changed this team's jerseys around quite a bit. And I really like how they came out. As Brandon Rudolph here is this team's ace. With a 2.56 ERA and 92 overall A potential. He's one of the better pitchers in the entire league, without a doubt. So Brandon Rudolph, super good pitcher. And then Logan Gilbert. I know in real life his pitching lights out, and this sim has really well-rounded ratings, so we'll see how he does. Then you get Shane McClanahan as well, and he's another younger pitcher at only 24. So they got a couple of young pitchers there, led by a veteran. I do like this team's pitching staff pretty good. I think it's a pretty good pitching staff, and it's kind of funny they ended up with Matt Manning, who they had in the other save as well. So that's kind of cool that they ended up with him twice. But yeah, and overall a decent starting rotation with room to grow for sure. And then relief pitching here, it's average, I guess. Aaron Loop is okay, but then it doesn't get much better from there. Not an amazing bullpen there. Closing pitching though, I mean they got Josh Hader, who's been one of the better relievers for a while now. And man, 97 hit per 9, 99 K per 9. He just strikes everybody out. I like Josh Hader as a closing pitcher for sure. I think he's got some great stats. And then at catcher, Yasmani Grandal, who this year is really not hitting well at all. But last year, had a very weird season. If you take a look at his stats, he got on base a ton, cranked out 23 home runs. I mean, a 420 on base is ridiculous. He walked more times than he struck out last year, which is absolutely crazy. So we'll see how much he can get on base here. He does have some good power. One of the better rated catchers in the league for sure. They do have MJ Melendez here also, another one of those really good catcher prospects in their farm system as well at age 23. So we'll see what they do with Melendez because they already do have a pretty good catcher, but that's their catching spot. And then moving over to first base is Josh Bell. I feel like Josh Bell is one of those glitchy players in Sim. I mean, he's the second best hitter on the Nationals, and I think he's got only see potential, but he's a guy that's pretty glitchy, I feel like, and does really well in Sim. Jake Cronenworth, one of the, a good overall, 88 overall. He's just a pretty decent, well-rounded player all around, decent contact, kind of, decent power, I guess, decent fielding. He's a pretty average player, in my opinion. But then they got Mike Moustakas, who's, getting pretty close to the end of his career. Then at short, Tim Anderson, one of the better hitters in the league. 96 contact versus lefties. Tim Anderson is just a stud. He's super, super good in real life, too. And so definitely watch out for him to make a big impact on this Diablos team for sure. And then at short, Cleo Watson. Of course, you know what his stats look like. We've shown him only 18. He's, one of those guys for the Marlins that's a super big top prospect. And so there he is for the Diablos here in this draft. And then move over to left. And there is Tommy Pham. And I believe the Diablos did actually have Tommy Pham for a couple of years in our other save, which is pretty cool. Then Jake Marisnick in center, not great. Sal Frelick, B potential, decent outfield prospect here. All right hitting ratings, probably at least a couple of years away, I would think. They also do have Justin Dean, who is all right. And then they have Framil Reyes, and Framil Reyes was an absolute beast, and I'm going to show 20 save, and he's a guy that hits bombs for sure. 99 power versus righties, 78 versus lefties. Framil Reyes, the fielding is really bad, but he's a guy that you can put him at DH, and he's just going to be incredible. So definitely a good DH kind of guy right there. So now we move over to the Tampa Bay Vipers, and my goodness, I do really like these jerseys, man. I love the away jerseys for this team. I think they're one of my favorites, but the pitching is pretty bad, as you can see. Yeah, I mean, Mike Clevenger is their best pitcher. They got stuck with a really low draft pick, and they were not able to get very good pitching. Tanner Hook, young, but not that great. Just not a good pitching staff here for the Vipers. Nick Lodolo is all right here. He's already 24, though, so he's definitely an older prospect, but he's, the best kind of young A potential pitcher that they have on this team right now. I think, unfortunately, this team will probably struggle this year. They don't have much depth at all besides that. As they also have Luis Medina, but, he's still a while away. And then relief pitching is all right. Diego Castillo is pretty good. Ryan Harper is all right. Chogoris is okay. Alex Reyes does have a potential, so we got to see. I mean, that walk per nine is so low, though, and that's why I really am I'm very concerned about Alex Reyes, because that walk per nine really, really super low. But overall, a pretty decent relief pitcher, and a guy that hopefully will get better as the save goes along. All right, now at catcher is JT Realmuto, and he is one of the better catchers in baseball, of course. Great stats all around. Gotta love JT. Great hitting ratings, very, very, well-rounded catcher, and the fielding ratings are not too shabby either. So like JT Realmuto there. Now, I love that they picked Spencer Torkelson pretty early on, and man, he's got amazing stats already. Of course, one of the better prospects in baseball in real life. And, oh man, he's got great hitting ratings already. And, being a first baseman, you don't really need to care and worry about the fielding ratings that much at all. And only 22 years old and already a 75 overall. Spencer Torkelson, man, looks like he's going to be a beast in this save, and I'm really excited to see how good he's going to become in this sim for sure. At second base is Garrett Hampson, who's, got good speed, decent fielding, not great hitting though. David Bodie is also there, but not great for second base for this team. Move over to third base, and it's DJ LeMahieu. And I'm going to cheer for DJ because I'm a Rockies fan, and so DJ LeMahieu's got good contact, a decent vision, and, overall, I think DJ LeMahieu is a very, very decent hitter for sure. Should get on base pretty easily in this save. And then moving over to short, the guy that's going to be starting at shortstop for this team for sure is going to be O'Neal Cruz. 23 years old and 71 overall. O'Neal Cruz is really looks really good. Marcelo Mayer, I just wouldn't say he's ready yet. The fielding is there, but the offense isn't for him. But still a very good prospect there. So you got a couple of rookies on this team for sure with the Cruz and Torkelson. So it's a younger team, and they had to kind of compensate for that because their pitching was really bad and they picked very low in the draft. Got Tapia in left. Byron Buxton here is this team's best hitter ratings-wise, and Buxton is a very electric player, of course. We all know how good he can be. Amazing fielder. One of the best outfielders and one of the best center fielders defensively in the league. Amazing speed. Gets to every ball, basically, it seems. And, the injuries are the big concern with him, though. We'll just see. Can he stay healthy? Because if he can, he's definitely got a chance to be one of the best, most well-rounded center fielders in baseball. So, very good. Very, very good there. But that was a quick glance at right field. But, yeah, Buxton is definitely this team's star centerpiece. So now we move on to the New Orleans Jazz. And I do like this team too, like their logo a lot. And they are not great. They were, I think, the second to last pick in the draft. So, they did not have they don't have a very good team here, I don't feel like. They do have Freddie Peralta as their ace, and he's okay. John Means is a glitchy player in franchise, I found out for sure. So he should be pretty good. Kyle Harrison might be a created player that this game made up. I'm not sure if that's a real-life guy or not. But, all right. Starting pitching, they do have Garrett Crochet, and, really love Garrett Crochet. He's only 22. This is a guy that could just turn into one of the best relievers in all of baseball in really no time at all. So, definitely like Crochet. And also Ryan Presley. He's one of the better closing pitchers in the league. So, actually, this team's bullpen really is not that bad. Ryan Presley is super good, though. Look at those ratings. The lowest ratings he's got is an 78. So definitely a very good player there. So, and then they have Salvador Perez, who was crazy cracked last year with 46 home runs. He was amazing. Or 48 home runs, actually. So, yeah, Salvi is one of the better hitting catchers in the entire league for sure. So we will have to see how good he does offensively this year. So, yeah, I really like Salvador Perez there, a catcher for sure. And, when you have a bad team, catcher is one of the hardest positions to be able to find, so it's kind of nice to have a good catcher. And then at first base is going to be Ryan Mountcastle. This is a guy that could easily win Rookie of the Year here. Ryan Mountcastle is already insane. Only 25 years old, 80 overall already. Man, he's so good. Got amazing stats. And then move over, second base, there's Jazz Chisholm. Really good player here. Is super excited to see what he does in this save. Those are his ratings, like right there. And doing super well in real life. I hope he does well in this save. I really do. So, you got some young players here. And you got a good young first baseman. You got a good young second baseman in Jazz. Chisholm. And then moving over to Third base is Yohan Moncada, and he's also got a potential. He's a little bit older though, so he might not be that great right now, but he's there also. Elvis Andrus is not great. Moving over to the left is Jared Kelenic, and Jared Kelenic's got a good chance to be good in this save. He's got really good ratings right now. Great power versus righties. Very good fielding. Only 22 years old. I think in a few years, Jared Kelenic's going to be a very, very solid outfielder. And then Ender Inciarte at center, not very great. Right field is Avisail Garcia. That's definitely got to be the last Marlin that we're going to be talking about here, right? Garcia, pretty decent. So, they got a lot of young players on that team. I don't think that team is going to be very good right now this year, but they do have a lot of young players on that team, so, we'll have to just see. Now, Max Fried here is the ace for the Oklahoma City Bison. Very good player, 8 potential, 86 overall. Definitely will take that, and very good. Pablo Lopez also there. Sonny Gray also there. Not a great pitching staff, though, really, when I look at it. Not an amazing starting pitching staff, for sure. Relief pitching, also not the best. Loaiza's got any potential. Definitely could be improving as this franchise goes on. He's one of those guys that we could see getting pretty decent in this save. 37-year-old Will Harris also there. Also, they got a 23-year-old Aaron Ashby who's got the potential. And then Rizzo Iglesias is their closer. Last year was very, very good for the Angels, and very good in 70 innings. So Rizzo Iglesias, one of the better closers also in the league. So I do like Rizzo Iglesias for sure as this team's closing pitcher. And then Sean Murphy at catcher, he's a guy with good potential. I mean, he's just a fielding catcher. That's all he really is, because his hitting stats just really, really bad. Then we move over to Carlos Santana, and Carlos Santana is just a very average first baseman. Brandon Lau, though, probably their best offensive hitter, I think, on this roster. I mean, he's got amazing power for sure. Hit 39 bombs last year with the Mariners or the Rays actually. Brandon Lau, yeah, he's great. He is a really, really solid second baseman there. Very, very good hitter, very dangerous hitter, can hit bombs. So, like him at second base for sure. And then third base is Manny Machado. This is actually their best hitter on this team for sure. Take that back, as Manny Machado, gosh, he's doing so good in real life this year, and those are amazing stats. Amazing stats. One of the better third basemen in the league, hitting-wise, for sure. Up there with the likes of Nolan Arenado. He is very, very, very good. Gotta love Manny Machado. And I don't know. I feel like he's kind of a dirty player in real life, but I mean, just as a pure hitter, you gotta like Manny Machado as a pure hitter if you are the Bison in that situation. And then at short, very, very good here, Novi Marte. One of the best young up-and-coming players in the Mariners farm system in real life. This guy is going to be a future superstar, I bet it. He's got great hitting ratings already, good fielding ratings already. I am really excited to see Novi Marte in this save. Hopefully he lives up to the hype, because he's got some great ratings and amazing potential for sure. But a decent infield here, all things considered, besides first base. But good infield for sure. And then left field, Jock Peterson. Okay, 92 power versus righties is pretty good. But then Andrew Vaughn is also there in left, and he's really their prime outfield guy that they want to grow for the future. And good against lefties right now, struggles against righties, but very young still, only 23, and a potential. Very, very good there in left field. So then we go to center, and at center is Lorenzo Cain, and Lorenzo Cain's not great. Johnny De La Ruca is pretty bad. As a created player, he's not going to be, don't worry about him. But, overall, decent team here in the Bison. This is not an amazing team by any stretch, but they do have some decent infield guys. I think their outfield is definitely a lot weaker. Their starting pitching is pretty decent. But I believe that is the final team in the American League, and it is. So, guys, next time it's opening day, remember to subscribe to this channel. You've been listening to Lucas from Mars. Subscribe for more, guys. Have a great day. See you later. Peace out.